All right, this is Jeff Zimmerman with FightNews.com. I'm with the hot young prospect Tyler Short Fuse Tomlin, 13-0, 9 knockouts. How you doing, Tyler?
Oh, shoot, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on, Jeff.
Hey, man, I'm excited to interview you. As I mentioned before we started, I've been in this game for a long time, and I love seeing and talking to the next young champions in boxing. So I'm very excited to get to know you. Listen, man, you're on a big card coming up. Showbox, the next generation against Chan Thompson, Hall of Fame weekend. How excited are you?
Oh, I'm so excited. Like you said, it's a big stage. It's a big card. I feel like I've been waiting for opportunities like that for a while now, and I'm finally getting one. So super excited about it.
Yeah, and the Showbox, stuff. They're always known for putting on the best of the young talent. So you're going against a guy who's undefeated as well. Pretty exciting.
Yes, they always say somebody's always got to go, right? And especially on ShoBox, like you said, they match guys up really well. It's always hard fights on there, but you get on there, you prove yourself, it takes you to the next level. And that's exactly what I plan to do. Get on there, put on a great performance, and kind of announce myself. I've got a huge fan base here in Tennessee. Everybody here in Tennessee knows about me, but I'm getting that opportunity to show the rest of the world. And like, I can't say I'm excited enough. June 10th, I'm going to get in there and just put on a show.
Yeah, and Tyler, you mentioned about showing yourself to the rest of the world, and I think part of doing that is for the rest of the world to kind of know who you are, your background, how you got into this crazy sport of boxing.
Crazy sport, you said it. Yeah, crazy sport.
You're a good-looking kid. It looks you might even have a broadcasting career after. You got a long ways to go. But talk about how you got started. I know you're from a small town in Tennessee, trained by your dad. Give everybody kind of the background of where you come from.
Yeah, you said it. Small town in Tennessee. I'm from right here in Cheatham County, Tennessee. We're right outside of Nashville. Everybody always just says Nashville because nobody knows where Cheatham County is, Pleasant View, Ashland City. But I originally wanted to do MMA right when the UFC got started. It was hot. It was the thing that was in. So I went to a gym, and you couldn't compete in MMA till you got a little bit older, but you could compete in boxing. So I started going to a boxing gym here in Ashland City. My first trainer, Richie Plant, Caleb Plant's dad. So Caleb was in the gym, had a bunch of other amateurs in the gym. We trained together and just kind of worked our way up throughout the amateurs, whatnot. I bounced between a couple different coaches, and eventually my dad kind of took over. So now it's been a father-son relationship for a long time. My brother was also a really good amateur boxer. So eventually decided to go pro when I turned 18, 19 years old, and haven't looked back since. 13-0, 9 knockouts. Now I'm fighting on a ShoBox card, working my way up to that next level.
Yeah, and you mentioned being in the gym with Caleb at a young age. You started about 9 years old, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir. 9 years old.
Well, did you immediately fall in love with the sport? I mean, you're a young kid. There's a lot of different activities. What was that like?
Yeah, it did take a little bit of time because being a young kid, obviously, I played basketball and things like that. I was a multi-sport athlete at the time. And I think when I turned 13 or 14 years old, that's when I kind of decided I'm just going to full-fledged put everything into this and just see where it takes me in life. And that's when I started winning some of those state titles, making my way to nationals, getting ranked in the top 10 in a couple different weight classes through USA Boxing. And, that's when I was like, okay, I've got a future in this. And when I turned 18, I trained for about a year just for my pro debut. Obviously, I felt like my style was a little better fit for the pro game anyways, doing with what I did. But went pro, like I said, haven't turned back. It's just been a great experience, signing with Lou DiBella and just working my way up. 135 is a big division. There's a lot of guys in this division. I hope I can just make my place in there.
Yeah, and you mentioned your dad training you. First year with Caleb's dad. Was your dad a boxer? Was he a fan of the sport? How did that whole situation occur?
Yeah, so he's always been a fan. Obviously, in boxing's heyday, some would call it, he was growing up watching all those fights. He'd watch every big pay-per-view and never really got into it in any sort. But when I got interested in it, he obviously picked up a lot more interest in it. And just watching all the different coaches, we would just take a little bit here, a little bit there, and kind of made our own thing, created our own style. So.
And what is your style? You mentioned you're better suited for the pro game, which, with your knockouts, it seems like, amateur style is probably not the best thing, but what is your style?
Yeah, I'm a little bit of a pressure fighter. I like to mix in a little bit of everything. I can fight on the outside, I can fight in the mid range, and I can fight up close. But like you said, that power, you're in those big gloves and headgear in the amateur, you can't really show your power like you can in those eights. So I continue to perfect my craft as far as boxing goes, as all young fighters should be doing. But at the end of the day, I can fight. If it comes to that, I've got that in my arsenal, but I want to sit outside, box, use my jab, do all the things I'm supposed to do as a young fighter that continues to get better.
Yeah, and you're 22 years old, you turned pro 2019, and you'll be having your 14th fight here in about a week. I mean, that's unheard of today. You're fighting 4 or 5, times a year. Is that by design?
Yeah, it's definitely by design. Try to, just pick it up and get to that next level. I've been waiting for an opportunity like this for a while now. I felt like I've been suited for that opportunity, but now I'm getting the exposure. Me and my team, we talk about all the time, staying active. You see these guys take these long layoffs, then all of a sudden they get in there and they kind of get surprised by somebody and they take a loss. So stay active, stay in the ring. I think that's the best way to stay prepared for your next fight, is getting real ring time in, getting real rounds in. A lot of young prospects don't do that. They fight once or twice a year, and that's all they've got. And their team see fit, I guess. But that's not how our team. We're ready to get to that next level, and we're ready to put the fights in to get there.
I gotta say, Tyler, you seem so seasoned and so with it at such a young age. Where does that come from?
Yeah, a lot of it comes from my team, just the people I've talked to in boxing, the people that I've seen from a young age go to do the things that I want to do. Like I said, I obviously being in the gym with Caleb from a young age, seeing his career, the way it's gone. Then just my dad is a great businessman within the sport. He's a great coach, great manager. So all of us just brainstorming, creating our own thing. And we always say we're like a sponge, right? We listen to everybody, take everything in, and put our own spin on it. And everybody that I listen to, I just take in that information, and it really helps mature you in the sport a lot at a young age.
Yeah, you mentioned Caleb. I've been fortunate to meet Caleb on a few different occasions out in Vegas, and great guy. Did he take you under your wing when you were a young fighter? Obviously, he was coming up himself, and now he became a champion, fought the biggest name in the sport in Canelo. Is he somewhat of a mentor for you?
A little bit of a mentor, somebody to model your career after, for sure. We didn't have as close contact when I was younger, just because it's a young kid in the gym. They see him come in and out all the time. You never know what somebody's going to turn into, kind of thing. But, when we're out in Vegas sparring, we like to get together and see Richie, see the whole family out there, Caleb, Jordan, and all them. So it's been a cool experience, 2 guys, both from the same small town in the same small gym in the middle of Ashland City, going on to do bigger things in the boxing world.
Yeah, I'm from Dallas, and you probably know, you seem like a student of the game, but you have Errol Spence, who is lit the boxing world on fire. Virgil Ortiz Jr. was a young
I forgot
fighter.
Virgil was up there.
Yeah, he was a young fighter in the same gym as Errol at one time, the Errol boxing gym in Dallas. So there's something to that, I think.
Yeah, there is, just seeing each other train, and like I said, just watching their careers, how they progress. What can you learn from somebody? And as I said, we take all the knowledge, anything we can use, we're going to take it in and put it to good use. Yeah, and you mentioned Lou DiBella. He's going into the Hall of Fame. And there's no one with the knowledge quite like Lou. I don't know Lou personally, but obviously he's a legend in the sport, HBO for years, been promoting for a long time as well. What is it like, being under Lou, and just what have you learned from him? Yeah, there's so many different things to learn, because he has had such a long career. He's had so many amazing fighters that he's had signed, put on so many amazing fights. You talk about knowledge. Lou is somebody that has all the knowledge in the world about boxing, and it's definitely a confidence booster. You've got somebody like that putting their faith in you, giving you such a big platform to get on there and perform. Me and Lou have had a lot of talks about at what pace to push my career and things like that. And he is 100% backing of me, and can't thank that enough, just because he has had all those guys that have went on to be champs, and he's kind of just putting me right in line to be the next one.
Yeah, and talk about you got this next step up fight against another undefeated guy from Canada, Chan Thompson. Got a twin brother, in fact. He's got seven. Yeah, he's got 7 knockouts himself. 2 knockout artists. What do you know about Chan, and what do you expect from him?
Yeah, you take 2 knockout artists and put them in the ring, it's always an entertaining fight, and I expect Chan to bring that. I know Chan's coming in there to win. Chan is an undefeated guy, so he's obviously got some skill, but I do believe that I've got the edge in every department. I feel like I'm a little bit faster. I feel like I got a little more power. I feel like I fought a little better competition. So all those different things, I expect him to come out and, try to box. And as soon as I start putting the pressure in there, doing what I do, that's when we're kind of going to see how the fight's going to go. Is he going to not back up and sit there and stand in the middle of the ring and fight with me, or is he going to taste my power and back up and let me take over the fight? Always say, just kind of a phrase for me at this point, we'll find out in round 1.
Yeah, that's the round, huh? To figure
we'll find
it
out in round 1. I'll figure Chann Thonson out, and I'll start to adapt to it then.
Yeah, and you mentioned the lightweight division. And
on fire right now. Gosh, it's on fire right now.
Yeah, nothing more stacked. And, some of these fights are starting to percolate and happen. And obviously, Lou's got a big fight this weekend in Australia with George Kambosos-Haney. What are your thoughts on that fight? And who do you think comes out on top?
Yeah, talk about 50-50 fights. I love today in boxing. I'm not sure what pushed it, what tipped it over, but it seems like there was a span for a little while where guys weren't fighting each other. And there's still some of that today, but in the lightweight division, it's starting to happen. Some of these guys are fighting each other. You have Haney, you have Kambosos putting the belts on the line and getting in there going at it. I think my prediction, I'm going to go Kambosos, barely edging out a unanimous decision, maybe a little bit of controversy in there, but I think he edges it out. I think Haney's probably a little bit better boxer, but I don't know that he's been pushed to the point that George is going to push it. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and then I got to ask you, although it depends on what fight it is for Tank, what weight he is, but Tank Raleigh, what did you think of that knockout?
Oh, man. Yeah, Tank was setting that up for rounds and rounds. He's just being patient, which was probably the smartest thing to do, because he's a hard puncher. And as soon as Rolly got a little bit greedy, he did. He took that 1 step forward, got Tank to back up, and he took that 2nd step and brought his chin in there just a little too far. And Tank's such a good boxer, he's going to take advantage of that every time. So, Rolly did get in there and show that he had a lot of good things going for him. He's not just this puncher. He can box. He can put some things together and be patient. So I think it was a good performance by both of them. The better man obviously won. And Tank Davis, he's got some power, 135, 130, whatever. He's going to be in a lot of big fights coming forward, hopefully.
Yeah, and I mentioned you're 22. Now these guys are starting to get, Tank's obviously a little bit older, but like the Ryan Garcia is starting to get to the 24, 25. The way you're moving, when do you expect, how many more fights do you feel like you need to kind of get in the same conversation and maybe get a crack at one of them?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I'm slowly starting to make my way to that. I'm blazing my own trail, getting to that point. I've got this big test coming up on June 10th, take care of business there. I'm not sure what Lou DiBella wants for me next, but another 3-4 fights, maybe. I feel like I'm right there with all of them. So I probably will. I'll get my opportunity to get in there with one of them. And that's the fight. You get to a point like that, then you beat one of those guys, and then you propel yourself into stardom, just like George did with Lou DiBella. He got his opportunity against Lopez. He beat Lopez, and now he's the man on top.
Now, is 135, is that a good weight for you, Tyler? Oh. You make that pretty easy?
I'll stay at 135 for the long run for sure. I will eventually go to 140. Maybe get a belt at 135, move up to 40 then. There's some big boys at 40, man. That 5-pound weight increment right there is one you don't want to play with. So definitely saying at 35, I can make it pretty good. I feel strong. Everything's right for me there.
If you were to kind of assess where you're at now, and you're still early in your career, it just you're seeing these guys that seem to be younger and younger. What do you need to work on the most to kind of get ready for a title fight?
Yeah, just staying composed. You know, my nickname Short Fuse. I get in there, I'll get popped and just want to go get it. And I'm a very good boxer. When I sit back and box like I'm supposed to, I'm really hard to beat. So I need to continue to work on that, staying composed, learning the mental part of the game, you know, getting your boxing IQ up, getting in there with really good guys and just learning from it, learning it from those experiences, continue to make the competition better. I'm fighting Chann Thonson this time, who's going to push me. He's going to maybe open up some things I need to work on, which I need. So continue to learn, continue to grow mentally. And obviously, as I get a little bit older, all the physical things will come. My power will continue to get better with my quote unquote man strength, as everybody calls it. It's a real thing, apparently. I hear it all the time from every boxer. So, you know, everything's got to come together just right.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned your nickname, because after talking to you, when I heard Short Fuse,
you wouldn't get it, would you? You wouldn't expect
I didn't get it.
Yeah.
I didn't get it. Are you a different personality when you get in the ring?
Man. Yeah, man. When I get in the ring, everything's sweet. I have people all the time, you know, they'll sit here and have conversations with me like this, and you'll see it if you watch on June 10th. You'll be like, God, you know, who is that in the ring right now? Like, just sparked up, completely different. My facial expression changes and just laser focused. And like I said, as soon as I get popped with anything good, fuse is lit, I'm going after it.
It's a great nickname.
Thank you.
And I interviewed Nonito Donaire, the Filipino Flash, recently. I love getting the guys with the great nicknames. Who gave you that nickname, by the way?
That's something, you know, I've always been called throughout my amateur career, and we were just looking for nicknames when I was going pro, because everybody's got one, right? Like, what have people said about me throughout my amateur career? And might not always be a good thing. Like I said, you have to stay composed, but everybody would always say when they would see me fight, like, man, I see you get hit with something. It's like, you just get sparked. Like, you have this short fuse. Sometimes they're saying it in a good way. Sometimes they're saying it in a bad way. But at the end of the day, I for sure got one.
Well, Tyler, listen, man, I can't wait to see that fuse get lit on June 10th. I know you got a big fight against another guy who's formidable, and Chan Thompson, another undefeated prospect on the perfect platform for it, the Showbox, the next generation. Hall of Fame weekend. Lou DiBella will be getting inducted. It's 3 classes in one. You'll have a lot of Hall of Famers sitting there, and I'm sure a lot of buzz and a lot of talk that comes out of it. I wish I was going to be there to see it in person, but I look forward to watching you, man, and watching your growth and seeing you in some big fights down the road.
For sure. I appreciate you. Yeah, it's going to be a massive event. I plan on getting in there, taking care of business, and adding 13-0, being 14-0, hopefully add another knockout to the list. I've got a bit of a, I've knocked out the past couple guys I've fought, so I want to keep that streak going. Hopefully I can get Chann Thonson out of there. I'm going to go in there, box, stay cool-headed. If the knockout comes, that's great. But regardless, like you said, Fuse is going to be lit on June 10th. And Hall of Fame weekend, it's all coming together. It's going to be huge.
All right. Well, you heard it here. Jeff Zimmerman with FightNews.com with Tyler Short Fuse Tomlin. Big fight June 10th in New York. Hall of Fame weekend. Can't get much bigger than that. Tyler, I appreciate it, and look forward to following your career and interviewing you down the road. Good luck.
For sure. We'll get together soon. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.